right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our next session in this Unlocking Greatness series. Today, we are going to be talking about something that I think is on everybody's minds. We're going live in this session right now as we are winding down 2023. And as we're winding down 2023, in addition to reflecting back on the past, which I will talk about, I talk about more at length in an upcoming podcast episode. If you're not subscribed to the Authentic Conversations podcast, I cannot commend that to you enough. Yes, it's mine, but we drop a lot of valuable content there as well. You can find that everywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can watch that on YouTube. There's so many places that's available to you. And so in a recent episode, the next one that's going to be released here in just about a week, I talked a lot about my own journey of reflection through the last year, and then tools that you can utilize to do the same thing. But the other thing that we are often thinking about as we wind down a year is the new year. Like, what's coming? What's ahead? What do we have to consider? What are we thinking about? Well, one of the number one things that we're thinking about is goals. Setting goals and achieving goals. And in the midst of setting goals and achieving goals, one of the things that comes to mind over and over again for me, there's a lot of things that come to mind over and over again for me, but one of the things that comes to mind over and over again for me is this. If I'm going to set a goal, how do I expect to achieve that goal? If I set a goal, what plan do I have in place to achieve that goal? And again, like, we have to think about these things. It's cool to set goals. It's great to set goals. It's exciting to set goals. But my question for you is, how are you going to get there? I mean, think back to the last year. What goals did you set last year that you failed at because you didn't have a good plan? A plan that you didn't stick to, a plan that fell apart, a plan that didn't lead you to the goal that you were after. So what I want to talk with you about today is building a growth plan for lasting success. I want to help you smash 2024, but I want to help you go much farther than that. This isn't just about a year. This is about the rest of your life because we are on an enduring journey until we reach the finish line and God calls us home. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple of things here. First up, I just want to come out of the gate and I want to talk to you about what a growth plan is. A growth plan is a strategic and actionable roadmap that helps us get to our personal and professional goals, that helps us to achieve transformation, to achieve personal and professional development. That's what I'm talking about when I say the word growth plan. I don't know what you're talking about, but that's what I'm talking about. A growth plan is so important. A plan of action is so important. You know, many years ago, for most of my early career, from the time I got into professional sales for the first time, I was about 22 until I left my last full-time employer, or at least my last corporate job in 2006. I set goals. Goals were set for me. And so I've been doing that year over year over year. And I finally got to a place after I went out on my own that I just got tired of setting goals. It was just, I was oversetting these arbitrary goals. Most of the goals were just a year by year thing over and over again. And so I ended up changing my frame of mind, my approach to goal planning for I think it was 2018. And instead of setting goals, I set off on a trajectory to become the best version of myself. What were the habits and disciplines that I believed reflected the best version of myself that I believe would get me to where I wanted? As fascinating as this may sound, by doing just that, not setting goals, but focusing on daily habit and discipline that reflected the best version of who I was in each of the roles that I played in my life, I ended up having an incredible 2018. And I did it again in 2019 and had an even better year. And so, one of the things I want to encourage you to consider is while you're setting goals for the new year, which I absolutely encourage you to do, I also want to encourage you to consider constant growth and transformation. I'm not talking about massive leaps and bounds every day. I'm talking about 1% day in and day out to get better as a spouse, as a parent, as a leader in the business community, as a member of your local church. How do you get better and better every single day? What little things can you do? So that's why a growth plan is also important, is because it helps us maintain a trajectory of constant improvement. And if we're constantly improving, we are going to feel far more fulfilled. And ultimately, we're going to accomplish far more of what we're after. It's just the natural outcome of doing the right things and doing them consistently. Okay, so let's talk about the important components of a growth plan. So if we're going to build a growth plan for lasting success, a couple of things need to be included. And I've mentioned most of these things already. So you're like, I just heard you say this and I get it, but I want to drop them again. So when it comes to building a growth plan for lasting success, there are 4 things that you need to make sure are in your plan. 4 things that you need to make sure. Number 1, you need to have some goals. Even though I shared with you earlier that at one point I abandoned goals, I do believe that goals are important because they give us a target to hit. Goals, though, aren't the end in of themselves. They're a means to the end. They should be designed to continue to be built upon. But the first component to a good, solid, successful growth plan is going to be goals. So goals, number 1. Number 2, strategies. You need to have strategies in place that will help you to achieve your goal. So you have to reverse engineer. Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. That's one of his 7 habits of highly effective people. I believe that that is profound for many reasons. Go read the book if you haven't already. But Covey talks a lot about the fact that we need to know what the end looks like before we can start off to achieve it. And I absolutely believe that. And so once we have our goals, we reverse engineer one step back and say, strategically, what's it going to look like to get there? What's it going to take to get there? What needs to be in place? Thirdly, we need to have action steps. So I have goals. I have a strategy, an overall strategy on how I will approach the achievement of that goal or those goals. And then I have action steps. Day to day, week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year commitments that I am making, habits and disciplines, functions of the roles I'm playing that are going to help me achieve the goals that I am after. They should fit inside the strategy and help us to achieve the goals. So action steps, incredibly important. And the fourth component to a successful growth plan has got to be method for evaluation. You have to have built-in methods to measure the success or lack thereof of your action steps and your strategy to achieve your goals. If you don't have a way to measure, then you are just going to be flailing in the wind. It would be like hopping into a ship and setting sail from LA, knowing you need to get to Australia. That'd be a wicked boat ride. But knowing that you have to do that, but then not using any kind of directional device and never ever taking stock of where you're at or what progress you've made. You would end up probably in some far off land and probably not in the time that you needed to get there because you wouldn't have been able to course correct when you got thrown off course. The same thing applies for us. We need to have evaluation tools. We need to have measurements in place. That's processes, that's people, that's tools that will help us to stay on track towards the success that we desire. So those are the components. Those are the 4 necessary components to building a growth plan. Another thing that I want you to consider is if you don't have a plan, how do you expect to ever achieve the things that you dream about every single day? It's so fascinating to me how we see these extremes happen in people striving for success or to a performance. So we see people setting massive goals and then doing nothing about it. And then we see people or massive crazy dreams and doing nothing about it. And then we see people that have all the plans in the world and never take the steps to get there. A growth plan helps us to put all of those things together. When we have a plan, it helps us to not only understand what the finish line is to look like, but what each step of the way is going to be, how we're going to get there, what we need to do when we stop making progress or get distracted or derailed, how to course correct when a strategy that we thought was going to work ends up not working. Without a plan, we've got nothing but a wing and a prayer. We need to make sure that we have planned accordingly. Now, some people get sucked into just planning and planning and planning and never do a dang thing about it. So don't do that. But far too often I see people say, just get started, just go. It's like, just go on what? Just get started on what? You need to know what to do and how to do it on a day in and day out basis in order to achieve the goals that you're after, especially if you're after meaningful things. Meaningful things cannot be achieved by just showing up. You gotta have a plan. Not only that, but I also believe that having a really good plan, building out a really good, clear plan for growth, it helps us to stay focused in the chaotic world that we live in. I work with quite a few business owners and entrepreneurs. And when I tell you that oftentimes I feel like I'm babysitting, that's just not an exaggeration. And that's not to knock them, but it's often because they are being distracted every single day by 76 different things. Maybe more, maybe less, but you get the picture. They have a new idea. Somebody else needs them. Some other domain of their life is pulling them in a direction. It is so easy to get distracted and pulled off course. And you wonder why you don't achieve the goals that you dream about. Like they keep you up at night, but you don't really have a process to stay forward and to be consistent. A really, really well thought out plan for growth is going to help you stay on track when everybody else is derailed. So I want to encourage you to build out a plan for growth. Inside of that plan for growth, I want to talk specifically about one area. So in weeks to come, I'll talk more and more about taking action. I'll talk more and more about, I talked about it some in previous sessions that we've done. I've talked about accountability, mentorship, guidance. I actually think that was just our last session. But I want to talk specifically for the remainder of our time together about the goals that are inside of this plan. But I just don't want to talk about any goals because, again, if it's just about the goals, we're never going to do a dang thing about it. But if we set the right types of goals, we are going to give ourselves a much greater chance of achieving them. Let me say that again. If we set the right types of goals, we are going to increase the likelihood that we will achieve said goals. Oftentimes, the reason you don't achieve the goal is because you've set the wrong goal to begin with. And so, what types of goals are those? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. The best goals that you can possibly set for yourself, personally, professionally, relationally, financially, and spiritually, are goals that are aligned. ALIGNED. And that is not just a word. There is also an acronym there that I want to share with you. First up is attainable. Look at, for too long, I've heard too many people talk about BHAGs. I said this recently in one of my workshops that I was teaching live, and it was fascinating to me. Of like 85 or 90, 85 people in the room. We were live, which is so awesome that I got to do a live workshop. I love being able to do them. But I said, how many people have heard of a BHAG? And only like 4 people raised their hand. It was so crazy to me because that used to be something talked about a lot. So you're like, okay, what's that? Okay, so a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. Whatever. Nowadays, it's just people set these crazy, ridiculous, massive goals. It's like everyone's trying to one-up each other with the goals that they set. And I get it. You want to set something so far out of reach that you got to get outside of yourself to get there. And I think that there's some wisdom in setting some pretty crazy goals from time to time. But what I want to encourage you to consider is encourage you to consider setting attainable goals. These are realistic goals that you are confident you can achieve. Not cocky to achieve, not ignorant to achieve, but that you are confident that you can achieve these goals. That with the resources you have available to you, with the time that you have, with the capacity that you have, that you can achieve these goals. It's going to take a lot, but you can achieve them. That's what it means to set attainable goals. That's the A. The L, logical goals. Logical goals should make sense for your life. Again, I see far too often people set these goals and I'm like, how do you ever expect to do that living the life that you live right now? I was just talking to a client yesterday and she and I were having this discussion about this balance that she's kind of towing right now. She has her priorities in the right spot. Like she loves her family. She prioritizes her family over everything, which is the right thing to do. But she's constantly swaying back and forth between committing her time to her family and needing to commit her time to her clients and her business. And one of the things that we need to remember is we're only one person. And yes, we can maximize. Yes, we can outsource. Yes, we can use AI, which those are resources that are available to you. But you want to make sure that you're setting goals that are contextual to the life that you're living, that reflect the gifts and talents that God has equipped you with. It's incredibly important that we're logical when we set our goals and that they fit into the other goals we've achieved and into the broader plan, the bigger picture that we have for our entire life. Okay, inspired goals. Choose goals that truly fire you up, that align with your passions, that align with your mission, that align with your vision. These things are incredibly, incredibly important for you. But you got to make sure that you set those types of goals and not just arbitrary goals because somebody told you you needed to. If you can't get behind it, you won't do it. You may for a few days, but then you're just going to be right back off the wagon. Don't do that. G, genuine. Ensure that your goals are truly reflective of who you are. This ties back into goals that are inspired. But choose goals that reflect who you are, what you value, what you're passionate about. I would encourage you at least when you take your first run at goal setting, that you do so in isolation. When we set goals in community, we just get too riled up. We end up just one-upping each other's goals. It's ridiculous. That makes me think back to, I don't even know why this came up, but we're big fans of Friends, the show Friends, in our house. And many of you may be familiar with the episode where Monica and Rachel challenge Chandler and Joey to a game of trivia. And I forget what the bet starts off with. $5, I actually think, is what it is. And by the end, Monica gets so hyped up. Oh, yeah. Well, how about we bet this? Well, how about we bet this? She ends up betting her apartment against Chandler and Joey getting rid of their animals that they have inside their apartment. Long story short, Monica and Rachel lose, and they're appalled at the fact that they have to give up their apartment, which they do for a short period of time. But I would just say, like, she got caught up in the peer pressure and gambled away way too much. But similarly, we get caught up in the peer pressure of goal setting and we give away way too much. And what we give away is our time, effort, and energy towards things that don't really matter that much to us. Set genuine goals. And necessary goals. It's really important that as we think about this growth plan for lasting success, that the goals that are included in this growth plan, they address real needs, real gaps in our life. Sure, dream big, dream crazy. But I'm telling you right now, if there's no necessity to you hitting that goal, even if it's a big crazy dream, you're likely to never hit it. This is one thing that I run into a lot with coaching clients, because a lot of the clients that I work with, they make a good mid six-figure salary, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year. Some more than that, but that's around the range. And that income, man, I mean, that does a lot in the world, in most places. Maybe not in Southern California, but in most places. And so they come to me and they want to achieve a goal. And one of the things I always ask them, and that goal is always like, selling more and making more income. And I always ask this question, which is, if you never made another dollar, would you have to change the life that you're living right now? And almost always the answer is no. And that doesn't automatically exclude that goal that they want to set for themselves or achieve. But it causes me to lean hard into giving me another reason why they're going to be fully committed to achieving that goal. When necessity is not involved, we will often abandon the things that we're pursuing. Okay. E, ethical. I believe that it's incredibly important that as we set goals that align with our moral and ethical values. We want to make sure that we are that in the pursuit of the goals that we have in this long-term plan for transformation and development, that we are serving society, that this isn't just about us, that our goals are in service to those around us, that as we achieve, we bring others up with us. As we attain more, that we are to contribute more. If this is just self-serving, you're in the wrong place. You can set those types of goals. You're just not for me, and I'm not for you. We have to desire more than just our own self-fulfillment. Though I want you to be fulfilled, I want to be fulfilled. We have to be able to pour ourselves out. And so make sure you're serving other people. No breaking the law. No crossing lines that God would call you to walk firmly on. So important that we set ethical goals. And finally, D, aligned. ALIGNE and D. D is deadline driven. If we're going to put goals inside of a plan for success, there has to be a deadline. There has to be timelines. We can't just say that we want to achieve a goal and then just lay it out there. We have to set deadlines to achieve. We have to set deadlines to accomplish. So make sure that when you set your goals, that they have deadlines, that there are timelines associated with each step towards the goal and ultimately in achieving the goal fully. Okay, so back to, so that was aligned goals, setting aligned goals or creating aligned goals in the midst of this overarching idea of building out this growth plan for lasting success. So as we're winding this down, I just want to share a couple of things with you. So a couple of practical tips that will be helpful for you. And this more relates to tracking. So you're going to build this growth plan. Hopefully you're going to do that. We've got some resources available inside our community. You can ask for those if you DM us, if you're looking for plans to help you build out a growth plan for yourself. We've got some resources available. And again, we'd be happy to share those with you. So just make sure that you DM me or our page, and we will make sure to get some of that stuff to you. We've created some incredible tools there. But one of the things that we talk a lot about is tracking, monitoring the progress. So it's one thing to build this plan. It's another thing to track it. And I talked a little bit about this before, but I just want to say that you can use digital apps. So like some of the goals that I have are in Asana. It's just a project management tool, but I use that to set and monitor the goals that I have for myself. I have on a Google Doc my entire annual plan for 2024. So that's written out, that's front and center. That's also actually in Asana. There's a link there that I go back and I review that on a regular basis. So there's a Google Doc. Use a spreadsheet, use a checklist. Just make sure that you have a mechanism to track your progress. Additionally, if you're going to build out a growth plan, once you've created your goals in isolation, then work with somebody else to collaborate, to talk about the pros and cons of the plans you've set for yourself. Ask them to provide you feedback, to ask you questions, to help you build out a plan that's truly going to be reflective of who you are and ultimately what you desire most. So important that we don't just do this in a vacuum. Again, create the goals in isolation to start, but then go to others and work with them to collaborate around what that plan is ultimately going to look like and how you're going to live it out. Like with my clients, when I'm working one-to-one with them, and even sometimes in our community, I'm providing feedback to people on their goals. We're doing this a lot right now at the end of the year with almost every single one of our clients. We're looking back on the year past. We're setting goals for the year ahead. We're building out a long-term growth plan. We want to make sure that we're keeping track of the progress. And so I ask them to set their goals, and then I work with them just to ask questions, refine things, and ultimately get them to where they want to go. So you want to make sure that you do that too. Okay, so as I wrap, as I close down, I want to encourage you to, first of all, do something about this. Don't just dream, plan. Plan to achieve the dreams that you continue to dream every night when you go to bed. Dream big, dream wild, but just make sure that you have a good, clean plan to get there. And so I can't encourage you enough to build that growth plan for success. And as I conclude, I want to say this. This is one of the most dangerous times of the year. And what I mean by that is I see so many people, friends, family, colleagues, clients, that just continue to set the same goals year after year. I joke about it a lot, but it's really serious when I say how many people set a goal to lose 20 pounds at the beginning of every single year. And every single year they're doing it over and over again. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why that they didn't achieve that goal. But inside of that, one of the biggest reasons is because they didn't have a good plan that they were committed to. And so my encouragement to you is to take time to pray about this, to seek God's wisdom for what your plan should look like. Work with others in community. Jump into our community and share your plan. I'm going to be sharing part of my annual plan for 2022 in our community here in the next few days. And I want to hear from some feedback from them as to what they think, as to what maybe some opinions they have, things that I can do to change, to update. So just make sure that you are in community with others, with like-minded individuals that are fired up as you are about achieving the goals that they have for themselves. That way we can build that momentum together. With that said, next week we are going to be building upon what I've shared today as I talk about committing to and achieving your goals and dreams. Now, I talked a lot about that today, and you may be thinking to yourself, what the heck else are you going to talk about? Trust me, I got more to say. Because again, I only touched on the importance of commitment. And I want to really hone in on that because I believe that is a lack of commitment is catastrophic to the achievement of the things that we dream about. So keep an eye on that. In the meantime, if you need anything at all, please feel free to reach out. If you are a part of our community and you would like help reflecting on your 2023 and building a plan for 2024, DM us or just just share a post in the community and say, hey, I want help with my plan. We have created a resource that we would be more than happy to share. If you are watching this on some other platform and you're not a part of our Unlocking Greatness Facebook community, I encourage you to jump into that community, and then you can gain access to resources like creating your annual plan. And you can do that by clicking the link below in any one of the places that you're watching this video. In the meantime, you guys, I hope you're having an incredible end to your year. I hope that you have achieved every single thing that you have desired for yourself. And if you have not, I pray that you are committed to doing what it's going to take to make the changes necessary to achieve the transformation you desire and ultimately see those dreams become realities. Thank you guys so much. I pray that you achieve the greatness that God has created you for. Talk to you soon.